The final preseason game is upon us. Last chances to make some impressions. What happens for the Chiefs and who's got a chance today with Matt Derrick on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everyone. We're brought to you today by Gametime. All you got to do is download that app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. It's going to get you $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply, but check it out. We are going to have some fun because we're ticking down to the preseason finale that the Chiefs are going to finalize their roster, and then we wait a few days is my guess, Matt. We're going to talk about that coming up. Matt Derrick's here from ChiefsDigest.com. Thanks for making us your first listen. Make sure you check out another Locked On show for your next one, whether it's somebody in the division or somebody at the national level, or if you want that fantasy info, get with Vinny on Locked On Fantasy today. We have tons there, and you can get it here on YouTube, where you can like and sub and hit the bell. You can get it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can get a free show, you can get us 5 days a week plus. You can then join us on the text line. That's where our insiders, our locos hang out there waiting for the news or what's going to happen. And there's going to be a slew of it after this ball game and for the next few days. So if you want that instant info, make sure you sign up at 816-357-8781. That is where you can get that. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, NFL33.com, and RGR Football. This is Matt Derrick, the editor of Chiefs Digest, the man on the beat, the man of the hour. What else did I forget, Matt? Lots and lots and lots and lots.
Not at all. Just the guy who has made it through almost all of training camp in the preseason. So knock on wood.
You are so close now. It's almost there. It comes down to this, and there are guys that are going to have to play their butts off to try to even make it to somebody's practice squad, whether it's this one or another one. So when you take a look at this, we understand from Andy Reid, he's not going to play the starters. That makes a lot of sense. There might be a guy stray that's kind of borderline starter that might get some reps. I expect Mike Caliendo to play, although if Joe can't go, they'd put him in next week so you can call him a starter or what. But what's your expectation of who we'll see to start the ballgame?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think you're going to include Joe Thuney as a starter, so he's ready to go for Week 1. So, yeah, I think anybody who's not a starter, Mike Caliendo's the cutoff line for the offensive line, essentially. Wanye Morris, they'll play. Probably the biggest name and the guy who might be a starter in Week 1 that I think you're going to see on Thursday night is Jalen Watson, just because he hasn't gotten any preseason time to this point. Chiefs just want to see how he is. They want to knock off a little bit of the rust, just get some action out there. And I mean, it's increasingly looking like he might end up just being the Week 1 starter by default, because Najee Johnson's dinged up right now. Joshua Williams tweaked his hamstring on Monday. So it just seems like it's one thing after another is hitting that cornerback group. But yeah, this looks like it might be more of a massive sit down of starters than even we saw last year. I'd be very surprised outside of Watson if anybody and is playing out there. And there's going to be some even guys that are probably pretty solidly on the 53 who just aren't playing in this game. So yeah, it might not be just 22 players. It might be a few more than that don't play Thursday night.
Well, and that's what I was going to go to next. Like, you would think normally, hey, your rookies should get in there and mix it up. But we're talking about having more than a handful of rookies start in, if not Week 1, certainly in the first quarter of the season. Hicks comes to mind, obviously Worthy and Suamataia. Like, I don't think you can play any of those guys in the extended snaps. Maybe Hicks gets on for a little bit because Jay Reid says he's good to go, right? But I would limit Hicks as well. How do you see the safety group shaking out?
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is just how much of the quote-unquote Thursday night starters play. Because like you said, the guys who start Thursday night, there's going to be some guys like Jaden Hicks that are in there that are solidly on the 53. And it's just, how much do you let them play? Do you let them play the entire first half? Or is it just a portion of the first half? And then you start sprinkling in the kind of third team guys. That's what I would expect, probably a little bit. There are some guys, Hicks might be amongst them, that the Chiefs do want to get some extended playing time simply because, it might be a little bit before he gets extended playing time. He's going to be kind of a role player going forward, barring any injuries. So I could, on one hand, see them, trying to get those guys, if not just a little bit more experience in different positions and doing some things, because, Jaden Hicks out there on Thursday night would get a chance to be a leader that's going to give him some leadership role and give him a chance to, maybe play, free a little bit, which I don't think he's going to play a lot during the regular season. Might just get him just some opportunities to get some different kind of looks and snaps than he would normally. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's a lot of guys, several guys in the draft class that might fit into that category. I mean, we're not going to see Kingsley. He's a starter, so he won't play at all. That was one of the reasons why he got some extended time Saturday against the Lions. But I will say, I mean, this time of year, everything's off the record during practice. But I will say, watching Patrick Mahomes run a scout team is pretty entertaining, because when you're watching a scout team that's got Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce on it, that's a pretty tough scout team. Let's just say the servicing of the defense that today was a tough day to be the quote unquote starting defense going up against the scout team.
I like it. That's got to be entertaining. I wish I could see that. If you were going the other direction and the true starters aren't going to play, and even some of these twos, are there guys that you don't want to see play in this ball game too much so that they don't expose themselves to waivers? Do you have a short list of guys you're trying to protect?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys that I think really fit into that category of just how much do you play them on the fear that they might look too good and make a play or two that does cause some teams to give them a second glance and look at them pretty closely. I mean, I'm assuming that some guys like Carson Steele and Deneric Prince just aren't going to play. They're enough solidly onto the 53. We might not see them at all in this game. Maybe they get a few snaps, but I think two guys that on the offensive side, I think I'll point to that really fit into that category are Nico Remigio and Louis Rees-Zammit. It's just how many opportunities do you give them? Because I think that, on the one hand, I mean, I think these are both guys that you'd like to be able to get onto the practice squad if you can. But what if one of them breaks a kickoff on special teams? What if one of them, busts out of a big play on offense? I mean, it's going to make some other teams say, wait a minute, Chiefs are letting go of a guy who's pretty good. And especially if you're, honestly, if you're not a very good team this year and you're looking for a building piece, I mean, Louis Rees-Zammit could be one of those guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be too cynical here, Ryan, but if you think you're a 2-15 football team and you're trying to build for the future and you think Louis Rees-Zammit can help you go 1-16 this year, get a better draft pick, and then help you next year, maybe be a 500 team, I mean, you're going to go and get him and see if you can put him on the 53 and develop him. I mean, it's going to be harder for the Chiefs to hide him on their 53 this year. A lesser team could. So that's the risk with some of these guys is that, hey, there's some other teams in which these guys can play. Nico Remigio would be a legitimate 53 player and a receiver on another team. I mean, I know that's kind of hard for some Chiefs fans to hear with, as challenging as the receiver room last year was, but that's just how much better it is that, he might not even be one of the top 6 or 7 guys. He could help some other teams, but yeah, I mean, if he plays well, there's probably some on the defensive side, but honestly, I'm not sure that we're going to see a lot of them. I mean, and there's some guys that even if they did play, I'm not sure if they're in the Chiefs' plans. So, I mean, I don't think there's anybody that they're honestly, I mean, I think the guys that they would be worried about losing on the defensive side, they're probably just not playing on Thursday night.
Yeah, you're probably right. There are a few guys, though, that have an opportunity to do something to say, I should be in the mix. So coming up next, so you're saying there's a chance for these ones right after this. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now they have a chance for you to do exactly what I do every single week. They have something a little bit different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube base plan account, all you got to do is watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. No problem. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can get that much more for your fantasy preparations right now with Vinny Iyer on the Locked On Fantasy Football Show. here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. You can get more at ChiefsDigest.com, where Matt's going to give you all the inside info, including his rosterology. I like the way you played that. But there are a few guys in my mind that might be pushing for it that maybe not on your 53 yet. Were on mine or maybe even weren't. So if you're saying there's a slight chance, there's probably very few players that could play themselves onto the roster in this ballgame. Who would come to mind for you?
Yeah, to me, it's the guys who are in competition for the last spots at a couple of different places. And some of them, I don't think it's necessarily anything that they can do to change the narrative. Because let's take a look at the running back spot. I mean, I don't know how much a Deneric Prince or a Carson Steele will even play. I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play much, if at all, in this game. So if that's the case, then is there anybody who can really play their way in? I mean, I think the Chiefs are still going to be just deciding how many running backs are they going to keep, 3 or 4. And I think right now the observation would just simply say it's what do you do with Clyde? I mean, he's the guy that hasn't been on the field as much in the last couple of weeks. So he's the guy that you got to make the decision on whether he's healthy enough physically and mentally to be on the 53 right now, if he's a guy that you want to try to sneak on the practice squad, or there's some other option for him. At the receiver spot, I think you got 3 or 4 players for one spot. And then you've got situations like I would say at the tight end and offensive line. I think the depth chart is pretty well set. It's just a matter of, as Steve Spagnuolo mentioned on the defensive side on Tuesday, you're going to have 25 players. Who are your best 25? And, does that mean that you're going to keep a 4th tight end or a 10th offensive lineman? I mean, if you're doing that, you're keeping Irv Smith. If you're keeping a 10th offensive lineman, you're keeping C.J. Hansen. I mean, it's those kind of decisions that you just have to make, and that gets made in parallel with whether it's going to be 4 running backs or 7, wide receivers. You got to make decisions there. Over on the defensive side, it's kind of the same way, although if you can juggle the cornerback spot, good luck to you. I don't know how you can sort it out right now, because I'm not even sure how Steve Spagnuolo is going to sort it out. I think you feel pretty good that even despite the injuries that, that your 2, 3, and 4 corners are some combination of Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, and Najee Johnson. But then, are you keeping Kelvin Joseph? Are you keeping Keith Taylor? I mean, Keith Taylor, you listen to the coaches will tell you that they feel like he's been maybe one of their better corners over the last couple of weeks. So that's a tough decision. Are you going to keep, if you're going to keep 6 corners, only 4 safeties? Where was a Deion Bush or even an up-and-comer? Like you want to talk about, so you're saying there's a chance. Chris Wallace-Smith is one of those guys that nobody talks about, but he's had a really good camp, a really good preseason, and he's right on the cusp. I mean, I think he's on the outside looking in right now because of the numbers game. But you talk about a guy who has had a meteoric rise during training camp. That's the guy. And even linebacker, I think is pretty well sorted out. It's just, how many linebackers are you keeping and how many can you get onto the practice squad? And do you want to keep on the practice squad? I don't know right now, Ryan. I mean, I'll be honest. I think that the depth chart right now is probably more ironed out than it usually is at this point. It's just making those decisions at the last spots and choosing, is it going to be 10 defensive linemen or 6 linebackers? That's the bigger decision rather than, who is your 6th linebacker?
Right. Yeah, the stack is probably there. For the record, I have CRW on my 53 prediction from yesterday. What I can't figure out, and I've been hemming and hawing, maybe you can give me the clarity. What happens beyond Chris Jones and Derek Nottie at defensive tackle? I honestly don't know the best direction to go. I decided to go with experience over the youth. Maybe I'm nuts. What do you see?
I mean, if you go with what the Chiefs have been, telling us, and what even some of the players have been telling us, and what you see on the field, I mean, and I'm not even sure where Derek Nottie is. I'm assuming he is still going to be a starter when he's fully healthy, but I think it's definitely between Mike Pennell and Tershawn Wharton. I think you got a couple different flavors that you can go with, and I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, Mike Pennell's proven during training camp, the preseason, he's their best run defender interior. So he's probably going to have to be on the field, especially in run situations. After that, it gets a little sticky, Ryan. And, I think some combination of Matt Dickerson and Neil Farrell are your next 2 guys. but how do they fit in exactly? And, Fabian Lovett's in that mix too. I mean, I do think that the Chiefs are probably trying to hide Fabian Lovett a little bit. Let's see how much he plays and where he plays on Thursday. I think they would prefer that he not make a bunch of big plays, so maybe he won't be placed in the most favorable positions. But you don't know what the Bears are going to do with their lineup too, so that's a little bit part of the equation. But yeah, I do, and that defensive lineup in total, because I was talking about, hey, do you keep 10 or not? Usually the Chiefs would be a 5-5 team. They're going to keep 5 edges and 5 interior guys. That's not necessarily how this group is built right now. And now Truman Jones has been dinged up this week. I mean, I think that I only think there's maybe 4 defensive ends that have really made a compelling case for the roster. And so then are you keeping 6 defensive tackles, or are you keeping 5 and a 6th linebacker, or are you looking outside? I mean, if there's any position still that the Chiefs could be looking outside the organization, probably less free agency, but more as a waiver wire pickup or even a trade, I think you're looking on the defensive line, and I think you're looking at cornerback.
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking. It's all going to come down to who's available and what you decide to cut away in order to try to make an acquisition. Cutdowns and pickups, that's coming up next. Getting your tickets to Arrowhead just got easier. Whether you're looking for that week 1 against the Ravens, week 2 against the Bengals, or even week 5 when they come back in October for the New Orleans Saints, they have a new feature at Gametime called Gametime Picks. And it takes all the guesswork out of getting your tickets. It makes it easier to filter out the fluff and get the incredible deals on seats that you don't want to waste time searching for through those thousands of tickets. Get Gametime Picks. The curation makes it easy to get all the sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, anything that you're looking for. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create the account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off of your first ticket purchase at Gametime. It's last-minute tickets. It is lowest prices, and it's always guaranteed. Folks, make sure that you check out NFL 33, where my league-wide content is. RGR Football for another look at this team from a 360 perspective. ChiefsDigest.com is where Matt works and does all of his best stuff. This is just his B time. This is all for fun. But if you want the real goods, get it at ChiefsDigest.com and on YouTube, his channel as well. Matt, it's a little bit different of a process. Playing this Thursday night game, normally I would tell you, hey, there's going to be cuts the next morning, especially if there's a vet that they feel they have to move on for. They're generally going to give him a chance to catch on early, right? But it's a week from today is the deadline. So it is a very long time from the end of preseason game number 3 to when they have to have the cuts in. How do you see this downsizing go?
Yeah, and it's added to the trickiness, Ryan, because, all NFL teams have this 5-day window now that they have of downtime before the start of the season. But because the Chiefs play on Thursday night, their 5-day window is at a different time than the 30 other teams. I mean, them and the Ravens have a different timeline, and the guys who play on teams that play on Friday, then I guess, have a different timeline than everybody who plays on Sunday in week 1. Because remember, the Chiefs will have practice on Monday and Tuesday next week. They have practice right now. They have practice scheduled to end just minutes before the deadline for waiving and for getting down to 53 players. Last year, they moved that practice up during the day. So that practice was held in the morning. Might do the same thing. Last year was for heat. This year might just be because they want to make sure everybody's off the field and that they're not like cutting guys on the practice field or something. But that does, factor into it a little bit. I mean, the Chiefs have been a team that has been don't do what you have to do until you have to. Because, hey, the unexpected can happen. I mean, like I said, they do have that practice on Monday and Tuesday that a lot of teams in the league don't have. What if somebody that you're keeping on your 53 gets hurt Monday and you've already placed on waivers a guy that you would want to keep him, and now you've lost him? So, that's one reason why the Chiefs, usually wait until Tuesday. They might start notifying players. Sometimes the word can leak out. But I typically don't expect the Chiefs to make their final moves until the Tuesday 3:00 deadline when they have to. It is going to be interesting, Ryan, here too, because there's also the annual NFL kickoff luncheon that the Chamber of Commerce in Kansas City host is on Wednesday at the same time that teams can start signing their practice squad. So I don't know where Brett Veach is going to be during the kickoff luncheon. I'm guessing he's not going to be with us in a ballroom, talking about the upcoming season. He's probably going to be back at the war room, trying to track down everything. But, and when you talk about cutdowns and pickups, remember too, I mean, the Chiefs, because of their Super Bowl win, are dead last in waiver priority. So, everybody else in the league is going to have to pass on a waiver claim for them to fall to the Chiefs. Last year, they did get Darius Rush. That was the waiver claim that they picked up from Indianapolis. Wasn't a big hit with them. I mean, they ended up moving on. But the guy that they waived to make room for him was Matt Dickerson, who ended up spending most of the season with him. So you never know how those things are going to play out. But yeah, I would expect the Chiefs to end up making most of their moves right at the deadline on Tuesday. So things can happen before then. The biggest thing to happen before then, Ryan, would be trades. Because especially if you're in the Chiefs situation and you feel like there's a player that you want on another team that you can't get on waivers, the way to do it is with a trade. And the Chiefs might have a couple of players that they would be interested in shopping around and at a couple of spots and seeing what they could get for them.
I think they certainly do. At the depth pieces, like you said, some of those receivers, the corners, I don't know that you're willing to give up offensive linemen at this point. I think they're trying to hide a couple if they're smart, but there's still options there. And especially at two premier positions at wide receiver and corner, I think there is something that can be made. And that does give Brett Veach a nice wide window to go try to make those calls and get it done. Do you anticipate it being anything that we get to report? Do they get anything done on the trade window?
I mean, I hate saying that something's going to happen, and then when it doesn't, everybody's disappointed, or like, "Hey, Matt got it wrong." I think there's a better chance this year of a trade than probably last year, and maybe most years. I don't get any sense, for instance, that the Chiefs are interested in shopping Sky Moore. I think that they're ready for him to be a part of this team, and I think it would have to be another team coming with them with a pretty compelling offer for them to consider that. But is that true for a guy like Kadarius Toney? And remember, Toney is subject to waivers. He is not a player that just becomes a free agent. He's not that much of a veteran. He is still on his rookie deal. So if you were to place Kadarius Toney on waivers, he would go to the team with the best waiver claim. And if you're another team that's interested in maybe, trying it with him and giving him a reboot, you might need to trade for him just to make sure you could get him. So I think that's the one name that you're hearing in Kansas City as being a possibility for a trade. Now, other things can pop up. I mean, there was no warning whatsoever when the Chiefs sent Parker Enger to Dallas for Travaris Ward. Those types of deals can come around in a hurry. And obviously that was a great deal for the Chiefs. So don't be surprised if they're on the lookout for a deal like that, which is, hey, one of our players that we might be putting on waivers for one of your guys that might be landing on waivers.
Brett Veach has all the angles, and I think that's the safest way to make a pickup. You could get some scrap heap, but like you said, being 32nd in the waiver wire list just doesn't allow you much room to maneuver. So I do think the running back position is one that they could look at. Obviously, with the uncertainty around Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Derek Prince has been another spike and kind of fall off situation with Steele and Pacheco really leading the way to that position. I think a speed element would be something to go look for in the trade market if I were Brett Veach. Would you agree with that, or would you rather just carry the guys you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are ready to go forward with the guys that they got. I mean, because it is the running back position. I think they feel like that, like most of the league does, that it's not a premium position that you have to put a lot of resources into, and that you can find productive players late in the draft or undrafted. And, Deneric Prince and Carson Steele, both undrafted guys. And, and Matt Nagy mentioned it. I mean, they really like that big run that Prince had on Saturday. They feel like that's indicative of what he can do. And is that competition between Prince and Steele going to maybe bring out better in both of them? I mean, I think it's certainly been evidence of that the last couple of weeks that, the more pressure that Carson Steele's been putting on Deneric Prince, the better Deneric Prince has been running.
That is a long way to go, but a good way to get there as far as I'm concerned. So let's see what happens in this week and who gets there as well, Matt. Thanks for your time and your insight and setting us up for the preseason finale. We'll be back with you when cutdowns are flowing. And
hopefully I'll be good together after the game. I mean, we never know what my schedule. I mean, sometimes I bail on you, Ryan, but cross our fingers.
No bail. It's just all trying to make the magic come together. We'll get it done. Folks, thank you for being with us. Make sure you check out Chiefs Digest here and over on ChiefsDigest.com. Make sure you like and sub and hit the bell for us. Check out another Locked On show. Go over to RGR. Get on NFL 33. It's not like we don't have enough places for you to check out football. So we appreciate you being with us. We appreciate you spending your time listening to this and everything else that we do make and speak